Welcome everyone to our today's webinar, or should I even say the Spin the Wheel show. So today we are bringing you a new rapid fire format with our two speakers, and we will be talking about setting up your studio for success. We wanted to add a bit of exciting and dynamic spin to it. So we will have limited time to answer each question, only 90 seconds per speaker. The questions were submitted in advance, but of course, if something pops up in your mind and you really want to ask the speakers, please drop them either in the chat or in the Q&A section, and we will do our best to address it after the main part of the webinar. And today, joining me from different parts of the world are Marina Muñoz Fortuny, Head of Studio at ALOHAS, joining us from Barcelona, and Don Reed, Director of Studio Stills at Saks, joining us all the way from Pennsylvania. And with this, I would love to welcome Marina and Don to join me here on screen. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, how are you doing?
Very good.
Great.
Perfect. And just before we get started, I would love you to share a little bit of context about your studios and about your teams so that when you're answering the questions, our audience can understand where maybe some of your perspectives are coming from. Marina, please, can you start?
Yes, so our studio, we have one set here in the offices in Barcelona, in the city center. And ALOHAS is a brand, a local brand. And we produce everything from e-commerce to campaigns. So the fact that we are not a huge company allows us to be present in many of the stages of the content production and many types of it.
Very cool, very exciting. And Don, over to you.
Yeah, I'm director of studio at Saks, a luxury fashion retailer. We have two studio locations, one in New York City and also one in Pennsylvania. And we, in Pennsylvania, we primarily shoot still items, so shoes, handbags, jewelry, things like that.
Yeah, that's exciting. I had a pleasure to visit the New York studio. Yeah, maybe next time I'm in the US, make a trip to Pennsylvania. That would be exciting. All right. Well, we've got European and US perspective. We've got a large scale and a smaller, more agile studio here. And with that, are you ready to spin that wheel?
Let's go for it.
Let's go for it. Let's do it. So we actually do have the actual wheel that will be spinning here. And let's get started. So what will be our first question? All right. Any best practices on sustainability at the studio? Maybe something new compared to the past year. Marina, you are our expert on sustainability. You have presented at Flow Copenhagen on that topic. So I want to start with you and share maybe something new that has come up in your practices.
Yes, I will just share the new because the old ones, you have already everything there in this video. Basically, we keep on focusing on the small things and keep the conversation open within the team. This is the most important thing. And my wish is to have solar panels, which we are not allowed to do in our building right now, but this is my wish. What we applied recently is that we try to avoid deliveries. Since we're in the city center, we try to pick the catering ourselves and go and pick everything we need to avoid that someone goes and pick it up for us and brings it to the studio. That's the thing that we are applying the most, and keep on trying to avoid single-use plastic. That's the most recent and the thing we applied recently.
That's super cool and requires team dedication for sure for all these deliveries. That's amazing. Yeah, wow. And Don, what about you?
So we're located in a distribution center, our studio, and we partner with the IT hardware team to recycle old equipment, do computer pickups and things like that. But we also have like a borrow system for our older photography equipment that's kind of like not in use on the daily. So we were able to like rent that out to the team and have them borrow that on their downtime to help improve their skills and keep that going.
Yeah. Great. All right. So the next question, let's see what we are going to get. Which one is it? Do you shoot content beyond PDP? Social media campaigns? If yes, what is your process and how is it handled from a team perspective? Don, let's start with you.
So we are primarily a product photography team, so mostly PDP images. We do have a separate team for creative and marketing shoots, but we don't really cross over with that too much because they have to stick with a specific brand identity, and we stick with the product shooting. So not too much to offer there.
Got it. Marina, what about your team? What about your studio?
Yeah, in our case, it's the opposite. We need to handle from the most basic e-com and like to the most creatively speaking, let's say, to the campaigns and the more social media content. So yeah, basically for the e-com, we put a lot of efforts in designing the creative visuals and everything. And from that, the focus is on sticking to guidelines, processes and efficiency, quality and focus on product, of course. And then for campaigns, we try to work with new talents every time, which in e-commerce, we try to keep always the same talents. We treat each project individually, depending on launches of product or even marketing moments or special branding message. It depends. And then social media and PR, it's a completely different story. We also collaborate to create the content, but really for ALOHAS has been a key for success, the fact to have this kind of content more organic, created by users and all of that. So we really give it a lot of importance as well.
Yeah, I definitely recommend following ALOHAS on Instagram if you're not following yet. There is a lot of inspiring content. And also follow Marina because some of this behind the scenes images from the shoots are pretty amazing in all the different locations.
Thank you.
Great. Well, we've got head starts and going really fast through these questions. Let's go on to the next one. Oh, that's a good one. If you had a magic wand, what would be one thing you would change in your studio? Don, would you like to start?
Sure. I'd say if I had a magic wand, I would have the product flowing into the studio be a lot more consistent than it always is. I know a lot of studios have issues with, the ebbs and flows of products coming in. And we also deal with live product, vendor sample product that has to get shared between different studio locations. So we don't always have the most amount of time with every product. But if I could change one thing about the overall studio setup, it would be a little bit more consistency in our workloads.
Yeah, for sure. I guess it's a shared pain across all studios, across all continents. Yeah. But let's hear it from Marina. What would be your
funny thing is that it goes a bit on the same topic, actually. In our case also, since we work with our pre-order system, we produce the minimum amount of samples every time to launch this product without creating stock. So that means sharing a sample between a huge amount, all the departments basically. Mm-hmm. And also I wish I had more time with the samples and to have also more sizes and basically to be able to work with them much more with the product. In different aspects basically. So it's a shared pain as well in my case.
Yeah. And since we have a little bit more extra time on this question, you both mentioned that you would like more time with the product to work on it. What is the ideal time that you would like to have available for each product? Don, do you have a specific number?
Days, I don't know. Like right now we average we have each product on set for about a day. And I think if we really wanted to go in and elevate imagery and really take our time perfecting every image, maybe like 2 days we would have, but it's, we do work pretty efficiently too. So I'm sure, I don't know. I'd have to ask the team that question, how much time they would want.
That's a very good point. Yeah,
Yeah.
make sure that that's coming from them. Great. And Marina, what about you? Do you know?
Sorry, because someone entered the room in that moment, and I was more paying attention to like the person to go away.
No
So,
worries. Yeah. So how much time would you like to have with the product? Because you mentioned that
yeah.
it's kind of tight and you would like to have more time.
It really depends because for campaigns and things like that, for me, the more time we have, the better. For e-commerce, it's always like the process is easy, so we already have what we have is good because it's everything set up. But to be creative and then creating more extra content, also once we know which are the best sellers, I would love to, invest more creative thinking around that product specifically, so it really depends on the project and the product and what this product can offer as well, because some product is more limited or some products can give you like 1,000 ideas around it. So it really depends.
Yeah, well, fair response. It depends. Good. All right,
That's
the
with
next
everything.
one.
You can't go wrong with this.
Yeah. Okay. If you're shooting video, what type of video? And what's your process for video versus images? Any specific learnings you can share? Marina, shall we start with you?
Yeah, sure. We had video for our e-commerce, and it was the same as for photo. We changed that recently because we know that we tested that video has positive results when it comes to sales. But the truth is that it's complex and it's a bit expensive, and very time-consuming. So in the end, now we are using video just for specific campaigns or special extra content for certain products, and we are really limiting the amount of video production because also for us was a challenge to maintain the coherence between photo and video because we don't have continuous light, we have flash. Because we go for it because continuous light spends so much energy and consumes so much. So we had it was a challenge, and in the end, it didn't pay off. So we were like, let's try how video works in terms of like adding something special and spice it up a bit, but without having it as a process for our e-commerce as we have for photo.
That's so far, a very cool learning. Yeah, that's the benefits were not paying off for the price of it.
Let's see, because now we just changed this direction. So in some months I will come back to you with more.
Very good. So we can put a date for the follow-up on this question. Perfect. Don, what about you?
Yeah, my answer is actually pretty similar. We discovered that let me rewind. So for product video, we were doing still items on a 360 spinning turntable, so you could see the item from all angles. We were doing that for shoes, bags, and jewelry. And we recently found that customer interaction with those assets was pretty low. And we looked at like how much time we were spending and how it was kind of like a forked off like workflow from our typical photography shooting, and decided to basically discontinue shooting in-house video on the 360 turntables. But instead, we've been supplementing where the video used to be with more detailed imagery of each product. So we're going in and like a bag, for example, normally you would see like the front of the bag, the depth of the bag, the back of the bag, and you would see all of that in the video while it's spinning. But now we're taking the time to set up like different kind of, we call them detail shots. So like close-up views to show off the material that the bags are made out of, show any kind of like little special details on each thing. So we're really trying to give each item like its own kind of moment. Even it's sort of standardized, but not super standardized. It's kind of like each photographer has almost like a playbook to go by, where like these shots we know work, or you can experiment with something and we'll see if it works or not. So it's kind of how we've been approaching that lately.
Yeah. Well, this one definitely calls for follow-up in a few months, I guess. We'll definitely circle back with Marina and Don and share on our channels what the outcome was. So stay tuned for this. And let's go to the next question.
That's fun, the thing of the wheel.
The tension, which one is going to be? Do you feel like you constantly need to produce more and more content? How do you manage this? Marina?
Definitely, I think that every time we need to produce more and more content, and also the demand is huge, meaning like it's every time more difficult to stand out, to gain the attention, and also we need to put more creativity into it. Also because there are many different channels and platforms, and each one requires a specific characteristics. So it gets complex. I think the key of that is to work out on strategy and production tasks of like coordinating everything. So each of the lines of content has its own processes and workflows. Yeah, but it's a reality in my case for sure. I see it around.
Yeah, I can even see it since I do browse a lot on ALOHAS website. It feels like there are more and more items all the time. So I can imagine that's definitely reflected on the workload that you have at the studio.
Yes.
Yeah. And Don, how is it at Sax Studio?
So being just a product photography studio, the answer is not always like we need more imagery of each product. We kind of realized that over the years. But what we do, this is kind of good following up on the video question, is we look at what we currently have and see how we can sort of like reassess the assets that we already have and, kind of like revamp them and make them a little more exciting and dynamic. So we're usually looking at an item and saying like, well, if we take the video away, maybe we can use 2 other images here to supplement that. So it's not necessarily like adding things, it's more seeing what works versus what doesn't and replacing things on a regular basis. So
yeah,
I want to add that also a challenge is to, since there are so many different channels, let's say, and the content that requires, like for each one is so different, one of the challenges is to maintain the brand coherence and the brand identity across all of them. That's something that also, with this increase of, channels to feed, let's say, it's something to keep in mind, and it's very important as well.
Yeah. Does it fall kind of under your responsibility to make sure that there is that cohesiveness, or is there someone who basically reviews everything that's coming out and
now
flags?
We have a creative director, which is in charge of ensuring that the brand has an identity strong enough to be present in all these channels and platforms and across every communication. So yeah, we have a person for that.
Yeah, that's always good when there is that one point that has to keep an eye on it.
Super important.
For sure. Great. Let's see what else we've got up here. Ooh, that's a good one. Do you use user-generated content on the PDP or not? If yes, how? And if not, why not? Don, can we start with you here?
Sure, yeah. We do not currently use user-generated content. I think it's a really cool idea, but it's hard to manage and keep a brand identity kind of like cohesive. And I think that's the part we would need to figure out internally is how do we monitor what people are uploading, and then how do we pick and choose what image kind of like goes with each product. So we don't do it right now, but who knows, maybe someday.
For sure. The doors can always be open for ideas. Great. Marina, what about you? You did mention how important it is overall to ALOHAS, so I really am curious.
100%. 100%. It's a super engaging and attractive content in general. We saw it in social media, and we see it. It always gives positive numbers almost in every test we do. Right now, we are testing if in the online catalog it also works in a positive way. And let's see what happens. Also, we have to come back with more results about this soon. But we have a specific tool to manage this, as Don was saying, curating this content, selecting the right images. And then right now, we have them present in our homepage, and in a section in our website, also focusing a lot on how this person wears this. And we mix it a lot also with influencer content. And it's a whole world, but definitely we believe that it has so much potential, this kind of content. And we try to test whatever it fits and works.
That's very cool. Yeah, that would be very interesting to learn more on that. Maybe one day we can chat about it in more
Yeah,
detail.
sure.
Amazing.
Yeah, super interesting.
Yeah. All right. So we have about 5-10 minutes left, and let's see through how many more questions we can get. Do you have any traditions with your studio teams that help with team spirit and creativity? Ooh, I love this one. Marina, would you like to start?
Yeah, sure. Basically, what we have is a lot of groups, channels across all social media platforms, and wherever we can find inspirational content, Pinterest or everywhere. So we can easily and spontaneously always share something that can inspire us or give us an idea. So that's for sure. And also we have on Slack, which is our main communication channel, specific groups for this to share ideas, content, and things like that. Also, there's a part of the team which are the most creative thinkers, that when they need to think about a specific idea, they go outside. And they think better, and that's the tradition they have, and also works very, very good for them.
That's very cool. Quite a few ideas there to take away. Don, what about you? I heard something about Slack as well.
Oh, yep. I was going to say it's a pretty similar answer. We also use Slack, and we have a couple different channels, one specifically for our studio, and also channels for each individual groups of teams. And our channel for the studio is just always popping off with people posting, memes, GIFs, asking stupid polls every day, but it's so funny and I can't even take credit for it. The team's just kind of taken that over and done their own thing with it. But I think it's really fostered a lot of friendships and things across different teams that probably wouldn't have happened organically if that wasn't there. But I don't know, it's really fun to watch every day. I like to hop in when I can.
I want to enter that group as well.
That's pretty cool. Is it the same channel that also the team at the studio in New York is part of, or is it specifically for your Pennsylvania-based team?
We have one that all teams are in with New York MPA, but it seems like the Pennsylvania one's usually the one that's the most
more
active.
fun. Let's just say how it is. Your team is more fun.
I get bummed out when I have to chime in with actual news to report to everyone, and then it goes back to the usual.
Oh, that's good. Nice. Very cool. And let's see what else we've got in store. And finally, we don't have a doubt between the questions. What is your one piece of advice to a fellow studio leader to be successful this year? Marina, can we start with you?
Yeah, I think for me at least, to work on team culture is one of the most important things. I think bringing good energy on set, it's fundamental to be able to work. Things can go unexpectedly sometimes, but also invest a lot of time in working on this atmosphere. It's super important for things to go well and find solutions, and team cooperation as well. But also I think a key factor is to invest time on pre-planning and organizing things. Let's say the more you plan, the more you invest in the pre-part, the better things will go and the more efficient everything will be. So for me,
couldn't agree more with you.
Yeah, this part for me, it's the key of success, these two things.
For sure. Don, what about you?
Definitely keeping the culture of the studio going, but also really giving the team ownership over certain projects and initiatives, I think is really important. I'm always trying to look for where the individual team members' interests align, and then try to match that up with something that's the company goal is aligned with, and then put those two things together and kind of let them run with it. That's been really successful in our studio for the past few years, and it really gives everybody a sense of pride and ownership over what they're doing, and give them some responsibility in shaping how things are going and how things are going to go for the whole team going forward. So I think really just making sure that your team knows that they're the experts in their own areas, and trusting them with that expertise, and it really helps build like confidence, and yeah, gets a lot out of them.
No, that's
everyone.
for sure goes really long way when people
Yeah.
are empowered to do something, to run with projects, and even if it doesn't work out, that's not the end of the world, but that's where the growth happens as well.
Yeah, if it doesn't work out, it's always a learning experience too. So
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Your teams are very lucky to have you guys.
Oh, you could ask them
Amazing.
that.
Yeah. All right. Of course, we couldn't do a webinar without this question. AI.
God.
Do you use any AI tools at all? If yes, which ones? What about generative AI?
Yeah.
Don, do you want to start?
Yeah. On the back end of Saks, we do use AI for product attributes and copy. Personally, I use ChatGPT nearly every day. I use it to create meeting notes. I use it to summarize bullet points into cohesive thoughts. I use it to like summarize like, articles and emails and like everything like that. I think it's a great tool to use for those kind of things. As far as generative AI, I've played around a lot with the generative fill function in Photoshop that came out in the latest release. And it's really interesting the things you can create with it when you start with a base and make a selection and tell it to fill in with something else. I've seen like some really successful things and some really unsuccessful things come out of it. But it's kind of nice starting with like a baseline, and rather than going like full, like putting one text generation into like Midjourney or Firefly or something like that. So it's kind of nice to start with something and then make selections and build on it as you go. But nothing that we're really using in practice. There was one practical area that we had a facial cream that came on set, and we were able to shoot it and use the generative fill in Photoshop to style the cream out within the container, so we didn't have to damage the product out. So that was a nice little win to find.
Yeah, that's a cool use case.
Yeah, but yeah, we got to make sure it's like that it alters the product so much sometimes that you got to make sure like what you're actually showing is representative to the product. So that's the struggle with it right now. Yeah.
And Marina, what about your experience?
Well, I'm trying to implement it in my daily also actions like you, but I'm a bit far away from this right now. Like I'm in a very initial point. What I try to do is I saw a lot of potential in pitching creative ideas as well. But the truth is that I'm not at the level yet to create things that I imagine and make them with Midjourney yet. So I'm on a process of like trying, and making mistakes and understanding how the tool actually works, but it's not that easy actually. We also try to even create a campaign with it. Like we are contacting with creatives that manage this tool very like impressively. And we want to understand better how this works and maybe try something. But there's a lot of controversial conversations around it, which I'm super interested, by the way. If anyone wants to share with me the opinion or anything, I'm super open to it. So yeah, we are in a very observing, how much in a creative, in creative ideas or creative imagery, this, what impact this has, you know what I mean, outside. So we're in this moment of observing what is happening, listening a lot, but we have it in the back of our minds to, explore more and more, for sure. The tool of Photoshop also, we are using it all the time. It's saving us so much time as well. So yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool. I wonder if you can say whether your response is much more kind of advanced to where you are with AI compared to 1 year ago, where you feel like, okay, it was a step up, there was certain development. I see that you're nodding. So
yeah,
if it's a simple, yeah, we have literally 30 seconds left.
I know. Yes. I think when AI first came out, it was like, look what this thing can make. Like, how funny is this? And now, while nothing's been like used in actual, workflow and like product pages and stuff, some of it is really convincing. And it's like, I think everybody just needs to look at it like it's another tool in your tool belt that you can use, and it's not something that I think initially it was something everybody was afraid of. And if you use it for what it's good at, I think it's a cool thing for sure.
Yeah, I think it has so much potential, and I think it's here to stay and be developed.
Yeah.
So 100%, at least the knowledge we have about it and the potential we see changed dramatically in a year, for sure.
Yeah.
But it's a learning process that I don't even know where it will end. It's like
we don't really see where the end
Exactly.
is. What is that point when you can say, okay, we mastered it, that's how it's gonna
Exactly.
stay.
It never stops.
For sure. Well, that was it, what we had time for. I mean, this half an hour just flew by. Marina, Don, thank you so much for all the insightful answers, for all the real life examples that you brought here. And thank you for our audience for joining us. I know it was a slightly different format today, so open to your feedback. And if you have more questions to Marina and Don that you would like to address personally, feel free to connect on LinkedIn. I'm sure that you will hear back. So thank you so much, and have a great day wherever you are, and hope to see you at our next events. Thank you.
Thank you
bye.
so much,
Thanks for having me.
Aleksandra. Bye-bye.
Bye.